Hello and welcome to Parimatch News Weekly podcast. I am your host Sarthak Karkhanis and I am here after England's emphatic victory in the first test in Chennai. I have with me a guest who will like himself to be called a cricket fan, Gurkeerat Singh Gill. Hi Gurkeerat, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me here, Sarthak. Always good to talk cricket. Always up for it,
Yeah.
regardless of what time of the day it is.
Yeah, what timing the day it is and what the result is as well, as England have literally pulled off an upset in the first test against India. They have registered a 227 run victory. Your thoughts on that, Gurkeerat?
Credit goes to England without a doubt, but I think India also sort of helped them, and luck played a part. It's very important for visiting teams to sort of win the toss and get into a position to dominate. England won the toss, they got themselves into the position. Also, like I said, they were helped by India and with the luck. I don't think any single wicket that fell on the third day, any single Indian wicket that fell on the third day, was to a wicket taking delivery.
Yeah.
And they were obviously helped with the dismissal of Pujara. I mean, the ball on which Pujara got out, most batsmen don't get out. It will give you a dismissal probably 1 in 100 times or 1 in 1,000 also even. Then Ajinkya Rahane getting caught the way he got out. So yeah, I mean, they were a little unlucky, but they also didn't bat as well as they could have. Despite England putting 570 odd on the board, I think that India should have still put up 400 on the board. Take a lot more time out of this test match because I remember very clearly watching the 2013 test match in Chennai against Australia. So at that the pitch that was there in that test match, had more turn and bounce than what this pitch had on even day 3, day 4. So it was not a pitch where India should have lost 20 wickets. I still maintain that, despite how India got all out on day 5 and Anderson bowling well along with Leach. India should have been able to draw this test match. I genuinely feel that.
Yeah, you touched upon a lot of points there, Gurkeerat, which we will be discussing over the next few minutes, and that in itself, I'll start with the toss. It doesn't happen that India it doesn't happen that visiting teams do come here and register a victory like England did today. So toss literally plays a massive role, but then you have to take into consideration how India have only lost 4 out of the last 50 matches played at home. So roughly their record has been fantastic even when they have lost the toss. So, do you think the toss played was a very big factor considering the result of this test, or was it just luck and the application which Joe Root showed on day 1 and day 2?
It wasn't a very big factor, but it was a big factor because last time also England came to India, won 4 tosses, but they lost 3 of those test matches. But like I said, they've also batted well.
Yeah.
Last time, I remember Ben Duckett being in the English squad, and he was a walking wicket. So Dom Sibley deserves some credit for the way he batted on day 1, and then consequently how Ben Stokes attacked Nadeem on day 2. He didn't allow him to settle, so that helped. And like I said, India also helped themselves helped England because the way Nadeem and Sundar bowled, it sort of released all the pressure that was created by the first 3 bowlers. Nadeem was clearly struggling to get his line and length right. I thought that he was able to put in 3 or 4 balls and sort of, get a line. But whenever he tried to force the issue, he was not patient enough. Whenever he tried to force the issue, he ended up bowling quicker, which resulted in him bowling short and him getting cut. So that didn't help him. Sundar, I think, he tried to copy Ravichandran Ashwin when he's a different spinner. He's not someone who can deceive the batsman in the air. He's more of a bowler who relies on bounce. And when he was coming around the wicket, he was only trying to put the ball there and not even thinking much. So I thought he could have been better suited had he come over the wicket and bowled with a silly point and a short leg instead of a short leg and a leg slip. That sort of could have probably even taken out the sweep from Joe Roots, because the way he was bowling, pitching the ball outside off stump and it going away from the stumps, Joe Root sort of knew that he's not going to get out bowled while attempting the sweep. And when he was pitching it outside the leg stump, there was no chance of him getting an LBW either. So he sort of didn't help himself. And when you are bowling to Joe Root and you're not making a lot of variations in terms of pace and just putting the ball out there, you will get swept, because One thing I want to talk about Joe Root is that people keep talking about intent, Pujara lacking intent in test matches, but Joe Root in his first innings was some 11 runs out of 65 balls. Okay, and
Yeah.
had Pujara been in similar situation, people would have crucified him. So
Yeah.
intent is not always to score runs; it is also to stay there. And he was intent on staying on the crease because he knew that against a Nadeem and a Sundar, he will get opportunities to dominate, which he got. And we saw how he made up for it. So these are the little things that sort of didn't go India's way. India, of course, missed Ravindra Jadeja. Had Jadeja been there, maybe Root wouldn't have scored so many runs because he wouldn't have. If not so many runs, then they wouldn't have been able to score as quickly as they did. The run
Yeah.
rate in the first innings was around 3. It could have been around 2.5. And I think the run rate being around 3 also, sort of gives a indication of the field settings that were there. Where
Yeah.
I think actually Virat Kohli deserves some credit. He had inside out fields and he always had a square leg for Joe Root because he knew that he's going to be intent on sweeping everything. So that was there. Also, if you notice, most of the fours that Joe Root got through the sweep were through a slog sweep, which
Slog
was
sweep. Yeah.
cow corner and not exactly, or mid wicket, not exactly through square leg. So even though I felt that India had plans for Joe Root, it's just that the execution fell off whenever Sundar or Nadeem
Yeah.
came on to bowl, because Ishant Sharma actually created a few chances. It's just that Joe Root was
He did.
too
He
good.
did.
So yeah, I mean, this test match also showed why having a good and a complete bowling attack is important. If you don't have a good fourth or fifth bowler, you're going to struggle. It was similar to how Australia's was unable to bowl out India in
Yeah.
Australia because Lyon was being played well. Stark was also releasing some sort of a pressure, and Cameron
Yeah.
Green didn't take any wicket in 4 test matches. So that is why it's very very important to not only have a good fourth bowler, but even a fifth bowler is very important. Which we and with Sundar not bowling at all in the second innings, we could see how much Virat was struggling to control the run flow,
Yeah.
which eventually played into England's hands.
Yeah. You again mentioned Joe Root there, and of course, India's plans were not quite up to the mark, and we will talk about that later about how India could have been better. But thoughts on Joe Root? The skipper, he is coming to India. He's on the back of a brilliant series in Sri Lanka. There was still doubts over him whether it could have been better, and Sri Lanka's bowling attack is not as good as India. And though the conditions will be similar, the attack won't be. Their opponents will be of a high quality. But come the first test in Chennai, Joe Root was just phenomenal. He batted and batted and batted and just batted India out of the game, even in the first 2 days. So, can you say that the Joe Root factor was just the difference between the two sides in this test match?
He was he had a vital role to play, but I wouldn't say he was the only difference.
Okay.
Because you have to give credit to Anderson as well, the way he bowled on fifth day morning. Because when Shubman Gill and Virat Kohli were batting, it didn't look that much would happen, but it took Anderson's one spell to just break into India's lineup. So, like I said, although Root played brilliantly, but I have seen better innings by foreign batsmen in India, where pitches have had a lot more bounce, lot more spin, and they've come in difficult conditions. So it was a good innings, but I wouldn't say that it was the real differentiator. If anything, if anything, I think the real differentiator in this innings was India's batting in the first innings. India could have batted much better. I think that was the real differentiator.
Yeah, and we will talk about that here. And India's batting in the first innings you mentioned, there weren't quite in the second innings. If you look for India, there were a lot of unplayable deliveries. The pitch was playing its tricks, and Anderson, of course, he brought in those 2 deliveries, which I don't think many would have an answer to. 99 out of the 100 times the batsman will get dismissed, and that's what happened. But in the first innings, there was a slight sense where you thought that the Indian batsmen throwing their wickets away, and someone like Shubman Gill, who was just well set, and it was a sublime 29-run knock. in that first inning. So India in that first innings, it was of course one off performance given the nature of the track and given that England weren't quite a very lethal in that first innings. But how could have they been better? Is what I would ask you.
So like I said, none of the 6 wickets I thought fell to wicket taking deliveries. You start
Yeah.
from Rohit Sharma. Rohit Sharma did considerably better in Australia, where he left all such deliveries, which were closer
Yeah.
to off stump. Coming to Shubman Gill, although it was not it was not a ball that should have deserved a wicket, but with someone like Gill, who's so young, you sort of have to give some sort of a leeway. I think he was the ball stopped a little bit and he checked his shot, and then it was taken brilliantly by Anderson. Happens. As far as Virat's concerned, I tweeted that as well. I don't think that Virat actually played Dom best well. He could have, either went further back to and played the shot after the ball had spun, or could have been further forward and smothered the spin. In that whole spell, he was sort of not exactly uncomfortable, but he wasn't there. He'd sort of beaten a little bit in the flight when the ball just fell short of a mid-wicket fielder. So I don't think he was getting fully forward enough, and he paid the price for it when he got out to Dombes at quarter short line. Then Rahane, again, not a wicket-taking delivery. Pujara, an unfortunate wicket. With Pant, I don't think again you can blame. You can sort of put anything on something, because that was his method. He wanted to hit the spinners out of the attack, which he did very well. Jack Leach, because if he had allowed Jack Leach to bowl, then he would have consistently bowled in that rough and taken a few wickets. What Pant did to Jack Leach was very similar to what Stokes did to Nadeem on second day morning. He sort of only the shots were different, because Stoke also slog swept him, he reverse swept him. As far as getting out to Dombes is concerned, I still think that the shot was on. Probably he was tired because he had kept for 180 overs. Then he had to come out to bat again very soon on the third day. So maybe he got tired. Hopefully he'll get better, because we've seen after getting out to Lyon in Sydney, to a wide one, he resisted the same temptation again on fifth day Gabba, because Lyon kept throwing him the bait outside the off stump and he kept leaving it. So of course he's going to improve, but you expect better from the likes of Rahane and Kohli. Kohli sort of made up for it in the second innings, but I think it was a little too late by that time. And as far as Jimmy Anderson taking out Shubman Gill and Rahane is concerned, again with Shubman Gill, I think it was a brilliant piece of bowling, because generally when you are reverse swinging, you sort of set it up by taking one or two deliveries outside the out of the batsman's reach. You sort of take it out, they pitch into the stumps and then leave you. But in this case, both the balls came straight into the stumps, and I don't think Shubman was prepared for it. As far as Rahane is concerned, the first delivery he survived. Then you sort of expect better from somebody like him who's been so experienced that he will be up to the task. So someone very rightly mentioned on Twitter that it was not as if it was express space at which the ball came. It was 130s, and if you can't negotiate reverse swing at the speed of 130, questions need to be asked. Although I still think that this test match, while thinking of Rahane, shouldn't be taken in isolation. What we need to look at is how he's gone about in the last 10 innings, and if you see the last 10 innings, he has had only 150 plus scores. Pujara has had 450 plus scores. Pant has had 3. Gill has had 3. Washington has had 2. Virat has had 2. Only Rohit and Rahane have had 1. And which is a cause of worry.
That was something which I'll ask, but we did mention Rishabh Pant and you did mention his method, but what you mentioned was the dismissal. But what we will talk about now is the 91 runs that he made. Coming into bat at 73 for 4, we were perhaps staring at a 150 to 200 score when he came out to bat, as there wasn't a lots of things were happening and there was a sort of panic. But when he joined Pujara at the crease, and in that very session itself, itself at tea, between lunch and between tea on that day, it was like a story of two halves. And what would you say on Rishabh Pant's batting? Because that was perhaps batting of the highest quality, you can say. And this is what sometimes you can accept from someone like Rishabh Pant, and he has been doing this for quite a while now. So, what can you say on his batting, on his 91 run knock, which deserves a lot of attention?
It was not only a batting of highest quality, it was also a batting of the highest amount of belief that you have in your
Yeah,
skills. Because someone like him who has faced so much criticism for batting carelessly, which I don't think makes any sense. Because if you compare the control percentages of both Pujara and Pant for the first innings, it was the same, 94. Even in Sydney, Pant had a greater control percentage than Pujara. Pujara batted with a
yes,
control percentage of 84. Pant batted with a control percentage of 86. So how we define carelessness and risk taking is very different, and it's extremely subjective. I think uh, what constitutes more risk for a Pant is to sort of defend a delivery, which is leaving him, than going after it for a drive. So that is how different batsmen function. So
yeah,
firstly, I don't think he's careless. Okay, I think he calculates his chances well, and like he spoke before, that if the ball is like he spoke that if the ball is in area, it has to go out. So I
yeah,
don't mind I don't mind that, because that also sort of plays at the back of the bowler's mind, because bowlers are also much more likely to make a mistake when they know that they are going to pay for it. If they know that the batsman is not looking to hit them and is more likely to defend them, they are also under far less pressure
yeah,
and
yeah,
able to get their plans right. This is something that used to happen with Virendra Sehwag as well. Just the fear
yeah.
used to ensure that there were mistakes happening from the bowler's end. So that is there. So like I said, it was not only the batting of the highest quality; it was the batting of the highest immense belief. Because had he gotten out, playing an aerial shot at that point of time, you can imagine the meltdown that would have happened on social media and the
And
trolls and
even
all.
after he got out, the commentator on air just mentioned that that is a risk too many. But after five sixes, and then if you go for another one, that I don't consider that it should be termed in that bracket. And now we have talked a lot about India and England, but just a thought of on someone who has been a legend of Indian cricket over the past decade and more, someone who just reached 300 test wickets, only the third pacer in Indian cricket. He, from someone who made his mark, he always had that potential, and ek aur dalega, to being inconsistent and being someone who is a lanky pacer who doesn't have that much enough of control, and to a person or a bowler who has perhaps been a spearhead of India's bowling attack, especially over the last 5 years when Virat Kohli's taken over the captaincy. Your thoughts on Ishant Sharma and what has been a magnificent career so far?
See, if you ask Ishant Sharma, if he like is he satisfied and is he happy that he has only 300 wickets from 98 Test matches? I don't think he will say yes, because
Yeah,
he will be the first to admit that he could have been much better in his earlier stages of his career.
career.
But having said all of that, I don't ever think that he lacked control. I think what he lacked was the ability to not bowl fuller than what he could have. And once he started doing that, we could see the results. Also, numbers sometimes don't do justice to someone like Ishant Sharma, because once Zahir Khan had retired in 2013 or 2014, when he
Yeah,
played it, actually, if you ask me, the last two Test series that Zahir Khan played, the one in 2014 in New Zealand, then in
mm,
2012 in Australia, he wasn't at his best. He was bowling at 120s, or low 130s. So he wasn't at his lethal best anyway. So once Zahir retired, and Shami and Umesh came into the bowling attack, who were still relatively new, Ishant Sharma was carrying the load of the bowling attack, because
yeah,
both Shami and Umesh were erratic. Umesh is still erratic, overseas. So Ishant had to do a lot of heavy lifting, and he was the only one who could sort of give Dhoni any sort of control.
yeah,
You know, so and if you look back at it, if you look at the overseas wins that have come under Dhoni, you will find that Ishant Sharma always played a crucial part in it. You look back at Lords 2014, you look back at Durban 2010, you look at the Sri Lanka series in 2009. Ishant Sharma was always there. And then when you look at 2015, when Virat took up the captaincy mantle full time, Ishant Sharma delivered a very crucial performance in the third test, in Sri Lanka. Then you talk of winning the test match in England. He did very well. So Ishant Sharma has been one important cog, and he sort of completes the bowling lineup. If you look at Umesh and Shami's numbers as well with Ishant, when they've played with Ishant, you will see that their numbers have also improved. I don't have the
Yeah.
exact data, but this is my feeling, because every bowler gets benefited from the discipline that Ishant has had.
Yeah.
It's similar to how Ashwin has enjoyed bowling with Ravindra Jadeja, because Ravindra Jadeja doesn't give anything away.
Yeah.
It's been in
So
the
there's
last
the
3
pressure
that,
from the other end.
exactly. So it's been in the last 3 years that Jadeja has started to convert that pressure into wickets.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so that is what Ishant Sharma has been for this bowling lineup.
He has
Yes,
been a very
yes,
lethal. Yeah.
yes, he could be better and he could have done better, but I still feel that he still has around 3 years left in him and could still
Yeah.
play 20-25 test matches for India easily.
He can. He definitely can. He has been that sort of a pacer. Your final question, your thoughts. Can India come back in the second test in Chennai? And will India equalize and sustain the hopes of a World Test Championship final place?
I still think that India can. I won't
Yeah.
be surprised if India still turn it around and make it 3-1. Because this Indian team has found itself in more difficult situations and bounce back.
Yeah.
Let's not forget how the 2017 series against Australia went 1-0 down, then 187 all out for under 200 in Bangalore, and then conceding a lead of some 80 or 90 odd to Australia, and then winning the test match.
Yeah.
So this Indian team can still do it. I still think this one test is an aberration. A lot of small things went wrong for them, and they didn't have the luck on their side. So they can still bounce back and make it 3-1. I won't be surprised. What would be interesting to know is what is the team for the next two tests. If Jadeja comes back, or Shami and Umesh comes back, they make the bowling attack even more lethal. Shami is
Yeah.
very important considering the third test match is a pink ball test match, and Umesh. We already know how good he has been in India, so that helps.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to see is somewhere if India do play a third pacer in Siraj and take out one spinner, because I think if you want to counter Joe Root, that could be one of the few ways, because
Yeah.
you have to bowl stump to stump. You have to
Yeah.
bowl stump to stump him and not give him much room. So
Yeah.
maybe that could help. It would depend
That
how India go about it.
Yeah, that could help. It was fascinating and extremely good talking to you on this first test, Gurkeerat. Thanks for joining us, and do stay tuned to Parimatch News for all the sports updates. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Thank you, Sarthak. It was great chatting with you.
Yeah.